Joining us now on the Megacast is Dave Dulio. He is a professor of political science and the director of Oakland University's Center for Civic Engagement. Back with us again on the Megacast. Dave, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Tyler. Nice to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you as well. And it is, again, a very busy political season as we're approaching the November election, and it's really picked up quite a lot in the last couple of weeks. A big story right now that's making news this week is whether or not the ballot proposal to codify the legality of abortion in the state of Michigan will actually make its way to the November ballot. The State Board of Canvassers recently had a decision on that proposal and putting that on the November ballot. That ended in a deadlock 2-2 tie. And now it looks like the Michigan State Supreme Court is going to be the one that will ultimately make that decision. Time is ticking on that. Just how close are we from seeing that ballot proposal that had quite a lot of momentum not making it onto the ballot this November?
We're really close. As I understand it, the deadline to finalize ballot language is Friday. So we've got less than 2 days at this point, for all intents and purposes. And I think it's worth noting for the viewers and listeners out there that the State Board of Canvassers is usually an unknown entity that doesn't have much fanfare around it. It actually dates back to the Michigan Constitution that was codified in 1850. So it's been around for a long time, but really, I would say prior to 2016, not a whole lot of people knew that it existed or what it did, and it's set up with 2 Republican nominees and 2 Democrat nominees. Kind of sets it up to fail in instances like this, where it needs a majority, a 3-1 vote, to move something forward. So it is. I think it's likely that in the future you see more 2-2 ties on some controversial stuff that could go on the ballot or would need to be ratified or approved of by the canvassers.
And that's where the sense of urgency is really coming from, Dave, because on both sides of the aisle, both the Democrats and their pro-abortion angle and the anti-abortion angle from the Republican side, they both are really putting the pedal to the metal on addressing this issue immediately, with Republicans hoping to obviously run out the clock on this and keep it off the ballot or have it be rejected for legitimate reasons or reasons that have rejected previous ballots in the past. And the Democrats really pushing for, this is a critical issue in this election. It's affecting politics not only here in the state of Michigan, but really the general political realm across the United States. In terms of the issues with this ballot proposal that could keep it off of the November election ballot, the primary one that's being argued from the opposition side is that the language is kind of messed up, or there's a lot of errors in this. How common is it for ballot proposals, at least in the past, to have been rejected or not put onto the ballot because of these sort of typographical errors or unclear language?
Not very common. Usually, right, this is a routine thing that where it's I hate to use this phrase, but it's the one that comes to mind, right? In the past, the State Board of Canvassers has generally been a rubber stamp, right? Because there's little controversy surrounding what they're going to do, and we go back to 2016 when or 2020 actually, with the presidential race, where there was one member of the board who abstained from voting. That really, and there were questions swirling about whether or not the board was going to certify the election. And after that, we really start to see more attention on the board and more investigation of things like this, like how often and how rare is a certain action.
And the fact of the matter is that the time is really running out. The court may have to rule, if at all, before Friday of this week, September 9th. That's the statutory deadline for state canvassers to certify all qualified ballot measures for the November election. And soon after that is when ballots start to be sent out to those internationally and in the military that will certainly affect this November's election. We're joined by Dave Dulio. He is the director of the Center for Civic Engagement, as well as a professor of political science at Oakland University, with us on today's edition of the Megacast. Another issue coming up this fall that may be quite unique to elections we've seen in the past, or at least key candidate positions may see fewer debates or no debates at all. We've already heard in the past few weeks, there's been some arguments between the Whitmer campaign and the Tudor-Dixon campaign about how many of these debates they may have and when these may happen. Now we also heard recently from Attorney General Dana Nessel that she says she will not debate Republican candidate Matthew DePerno, as he is, quote, not a serious candidate. How can this debate issue, whether or not they happen or not, how could this potentially affect the outcome of the election for both sides of the aisle?
Sure. I think that the way the debates are handled in Michigan currently is that everything's in the hands of the candidates. And because of that, they're each going to do or want to do what's best for them, right? So let's take the governor's race, for instance. Tudor-Dixon is at a huge funding disadvantage relative to Gretchen Whitmer. Absentee ballots go out 24th of this month. She would like to have a debate prior to that day so that she can take advantage of the earned media that would come with a debate, that her campaign wouldn't have to pay for anything for voters to see her in action going up against Gretchen Whitmer one-on-one for an hour, right? That is invaluable time for a campaign like a challenger to a sitting governor. Gretchen Whitmer, on the other hand, wants to delay it as much as possible. She doesn't need to debate from her perspective, right? She is coming at this from probably a point of power and an advantage, really. The Detroit News had a poll out earlier that just in the last day or so that's got Whitmer up 13 points over Dixon. So the Whitmer campaign looks at that and says, why should we even give her a chance? Why should we even, put her on the same stage? So it's really a self-interested dance that they're all doing.
We're joined by Dave Dulio, professor of political science at Oakland University, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. He's also the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University as well. Another big story, controversial story on the federal political level is the raid on Mar-a-Lago that found a bunch of classified documents on Trump's property in Mar-a-Lago. How does this impact 2024 in particular, Donald Trump's potential run for president again, trying to pull off what I refer to as the old Grover Cleveland?
For now, the only president to serve two terms non-consecutively, of course, right?
Correct.
Right now, it helps Donald Trump. He has seen his poll numbers with Republicans go up since that raid at Mar-a-Lago. It makes him it puts him in a stronger position. You even see some of his rivals or potential rivals coming to his defense, or at least backing him on his claims of overzealous law enforcement. Somebody like Ron DeSantis, who could be a real thorn in the side to President Trump in 2024, has been supportive. So I think that right now, it A, makes it more likely that Trump runs again, and B, strengthens his grasp on that potential nomination.
And in terms of the ongoing cases against him at state levels and also potentially federally as a result of the Select Committee on January 6th, that could also play a role in that too, as an additional bit of firepower for the opposition to Donald Trump going forward, and potentially setting up for him maybe not legally being allowed to run for office. How likely do you think that outcome is, that he may want to run for office, but ultimately this could end up with him not being legally allowed to do so?
Never say never, right? I mean, there's so much that's yet to play out with this with this one sort of vein of national politics, right? And we really have to see how things shake out in the courts before we can even attempt to start to handicap it or say what's likely or what's not.
Joined by Dave Dulio. He is a professor of political science and the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. More information can be found on the Center for Civic Engagement at oakland.edu/CCE. That's oakland.edu/CCE. Dave, at this time, as we're approaching November, any upcoming activities or discussions with the Center for Civic Engagement that you'd like to preview?
Yeah, Tyler, thanks for the time to do that. We're gonna start our office hours series again, and we've talked about that over the last couple of years, where we highlight faculty experts here at Oakland University. It's a chat basically that I have with one or two faculty experts from campus. Tomorrow is our first one, where we are going to talk with two economists about the state of the economy in Michigan and the U.S. We'll talk about issues of inflation, gas prices, whether or not we are in a recession, what the forecasts might be, and of course we'll loop that back into how that's all affecting the 2022 campaign, both here in Michigan and across the country. We're going to do 3 additional office hours sessions. One on October 6th about sustainability, and then 2 election-related ones in November, one to preview the election on November 3rd, and one to recap the election on November 9th. The first 3 of these are going to be offered in a hybrid manner, where folks can come to campus if they like and join us in the Oakland Center. It's the main student union building on campus. Or they can join via Zoom. Folks can register for that by going to oakland.edu/CCE. And then in October, we're going to have a Lincoln Douglas style debate about the issue of abortion with 2 nationally known, nationally respected thinkers on this issue. One is her name is Jill Filipovic. She's a CNN contributor. She's written for the New York Times, Washington Post, Huffington Post, you name it. And the other is Alexandra DeSantis, who is a writer at National Review. They come at this issue from different perspectives. Importantly, however, what we're doing this because we want to talk about it in the right way, right? So we're not going to change anybody's mind. We don't want to change anybody's mind. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to offer information, right? And to demonstrate that even when 2 people disagree about an issue, even like abortion, they can do it in a way that is civil and respectful and productive, right? And one thing we know is that when people have an idea of where somebody who they disagree with is coming from on a particular issue, they're more likely to respect that person's opinion, more likely to tolerate that person's opinion, rather than thinking they are the devil. So what we want to do is have this to demonstrate and model civil behavior, civil tone, even around an issue like abortion, right? So it's that'll be on October 11th. It's a virtual event, and maybe we can come back and talk more about that closer to the date.
Absolutely, Dave. Appreciate you joining us.